You're listening to Radio Kidnappers, the voice of Hawke's Bay, and we have Lou, and it's the wonderful world of Wardini books.
Hi, Jill.
Hi, Lou. How's it going?
Yeah, really well, thank you.
Yeah, it's good.
It's beautiful in here, very lovely and warm.
It is. This
Thank
is
you.
Ken's studio. He always has it nice and warm. I love it.
Toasty Ken.
Yes.
Cool.
What have you got for us today?
Got three. It's heavy on the non-fiction, which is unusual for me. So look at this beautiful child. So this is called Faking It, and it's My Life in Transition. It's a memoir from Kyle Mewburn, who has been one of New Zealand's beloved children's authors for many years. So people will remember Kiss Kiss Yuck Yuck, which was a very famous picture book of Kyle's, and The Hopple Plop, I think, was his very first one, which is such a great name for a book.
It is a great name. I don't think I've ever heard of it.
No? Oh, well, I shall bring you a copy to have a look at. So Kyle is a woman, transgender woman.
Yeah.
So this starts from her life as a little boy and growing up and always knowing that the expectations put upon him, that he was different. And it takes Kyle quite some time. You know, he's about 50 and he's married and says to Marion, his wife, who's still her wife.
Nice.
I know, isn't that beautiful?
It's so beautiful.
This is it, Marion. I'm a woman, and you know, I can't remember her exact reaction, but it's quite gorgeous. You know, it's like, okay, sweetheart, what are we going to do about that then? You know, so I mean, I'm sure it was far more complicated than that, and there must have been lots and lots of conversations. But the fascinating thing is that Kyle's got such a wonderful sense of humour, and so that is infused throughout the book, and her observations on people and on life and are just wonderful, and quite honest as well, that she knows what a pain in the bum she would have been at times because she was living a lie. And so, you know, completely in love with Marion, always has been, and their relationship had some very rocky patches because of what was going on in Kyle's head. And Marion's a beautiful artist as well. She's a potter, I think, and there's some really gorgeous photos in here, you know, of this child. And there's quite the when you think about what you have to go through to transition, you know, this is not a decision that anybody makes lightly or overnight.
It's not
you know,
like
this
you
was
used it on a whim and go,
no.
Let's give this a go.
So this is really educational for people that think, okay, well, I can see that that's a thing, but they might not understand what was going on in a person's head. So Kyle ends up going for facial feminisation surgery, and that is huge. So, you know, not to get too gory, but they do have to peel your face off and, you know, alter your bone structure and all this kind of thing. So there are photos of poor dear Kyle, who's, well, there's lots of photos, gorgeous wedding photo there, and Kyle fruit picking and all sorts of things, but then operational pictures too. And the last photo is Kyle as we now know her.
Oh, she's gorgeous.
She's beautiful, and met her recently in a pub in Dunedin, and it was the first time I'd met her.
Yeah.
And that is great.
That's
it was
awesome.
just lovely to see a person who is now so comfortable in her own skin. So this is a fascinating memoir, beautifully written. You know, life's weird, and even in the darkest times we can have a little giggle about it, and I think, you know, there's that in it too. So it's thoroughly entertaining, but also if anyone's interested, going, right, okay, I admit I do not know much about this, about transgender people, then read this one because it's so accessible. And this is a real person that had to do what they had to do to become who they are.
About it,
yeah,
it might open someone else's eyes as to what the process is.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's really important, is that people need to be represented. You know, we talk about representation in books a lot, don't we? So, you know, if anybody's... I think there'll be people that pick this up and go, oh my goodness, what a relief. That's how I've felt about things. So,
because it's not widely talked about, and people don't talk about what's in their head, what they're going through. So,
especially if they're going to be judged.
Yeah, it can be hard to relate at times. Yeah.
Really interesting bits as well from a feminist point of view, that once Kyle is a woman, how people react to women and how different it is. Yeah. You know, having come from a life of being seen as male and the male privilege that goes with that. Yeah, and Kyle's interested in that. Yeah, and I was interested a couple of reading about that. Yeah, you know, and then all of a sudden, oh, okay, well, you're hitting on me, even though you've known me all this time.
Yeah.
Some weird stuff happens to her.
I know.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of friends who used to be men and now women, and they're like, what, do you guys do this every day? And it's like, what do you mean? Like, this is just what women deal with, I guess.
Yeah.
Never really stopped to think about how it's different for men, because we obviously haven't been men.
No, and it's a valuable perspective, isn't it, for somebody that's seen life from both sides. So yeah,
they probably can enlighten us on a fair bit.
I should think so. Yes. Well, so read the book.
Yeah,
great.
And what's our next book?
Another non-fiction, another New Zealand non-fiction. So this is Rosemary Riddell. To be fair, Confessions of a District Court Judge. What's not to love already?
I know. I've read the review for that one.
Ah, did I sent it through for the newsletter, didn't I? That's right.
Really good.
Yeah, so it's she's a direct writer. So what happened is, I've actually underlined it in the preface, so she'd been a judge for 12 years, stuff's going on in life, doesn't particularly want to retire, but ends up retiring and relinquishes her acting warrant, which means that all the things that she couldn't say before,
she now can
say. Yeah, and some things that needed to be said, and I've underlined that thing. And so the book is really about those things. So Rosemary goes quite into what's with all these people coming into the court. They've got terrible mental health issues that have not been addressed, and the crimes and the offences that they're accused of could have been prevented with better health care. So that's one of the things that needs to be said. Outdated laws are another thing, because the judge's hands are tied. This is the law.
This is the law.
I have to try you
by.
in the under those rules, but they're not fit for purpose anymore. So what about that? And so Rosemary's had an interesting life as well. We were just talking to Rosie Fenwick just before, weren't we? And just how writers have had all these experiences and then can entertain us with them, I suppose.
If they choose to share them.
Yeah.
Enlighten us.
It's quite incredible, this one, because Rosemary went off to Britain to be an actor and says, that kind of didn't work. But she meets her husband, Mike Riddell, who's a writer, and he wrote, you're a lot younger than me, so you may or may not have heard of a film called The Insatiable Moon, a New Zealand film. It's the most incredible, beautiful film about a sort of homeless community in Auckland, and how the main character believes that he's the second son of God. So, that Jesus, he's going to get into trouble. There's quite amazing parts in it. But Mike, Rosemary's husband, wrote that novel, and it was turned into the film, and Rosemary directed it. So she's been an actor, she's been a director, and then she becomes a lawyer, and she's raised 3 children, and then she's a judge for 12 years. And so, there are some hella experiences in there. So it was just fascinating, and nice short chapters, and you can really get your head around one concept, and it might be there's dignity in all people. Judges have to. This is something that's sitting with me from this book. Judges might have tried 10 shoplifting cases that day, but they still need to pay you their full attention.
Yes.
Because you are a human being who deserves that.
Yeah,
no matter what you've done.
And your story might be slightly different.
Yeah, absolutely, and different circumstances.
Yeah.
So it's fascinating and entertaining. Oh, and she's got a great line in jokes. She's a joker, and you would call them. Sorry, Rosemary, you would call them dad jokes if they were blokey jokes.
Yeah,
but they're just like,
I mean, some dad jokes are good.
Oh, they're fabulous, and I mean that with a lot of affection. Yeah, they're just great. So you've had this chapter about something quite serious and social ills, and then there's this sort of. It's not quite gallows humour because it's not that dark, but this cracker of a dad joke at the end of it, and you go, that's life, isn't it? That's life.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so that was cool.
That sounds very good. And your third book.
Look at that little beauty.
Oh, it looks really cool.
Little wabbit.
It's a little wabbit.
So this is Vines, and it is a journal, and it's produced locally. So EV Publications are in Napier, and they're a team of Eris Fairbrother and Valerie Thompson, EV, and Jeremy Roberts is an editor on this, and the art editor is currently Michael Hawksworth, and they have pulled together all sorts of arty things that local people do, because we've got the most amazing talent in Hawke's Bay. I keep saying we're the centre of the universe, and we actually are.
We kind of are.
Yeah. So there's poetry in here, there's art, and I keep flicking through to Jan Robertson's beautiful woodcuts that are peppered through here. And short stories and reviews of plays and art exhibitions. So there's everything in here. And it's just one of those lovely things that you can just pick up, put down.
Read a couple of pages.
Yeah, I intended to do that, but I didn't. I read it cover to cover. And special mention for me is a short story called Daniel's Birthday by Karen Leslie, who's a comedian. People will recognise that name from the local comedy scene. But this was just from the perspective of a little girl and Jessica. And her best friend is Daniel, and he lives across the way. And they're always tearing about creating mischief. But one day, Daniel's mum comes round, and Daniel's not looking so great, and Daniel's really, really, really poorly.
Oh, no.
And they share a birthday, Daniel and Jessica, and it's the impact of his illness on the families. And it was just one of those that actually makes you go, oh, yeah. So how beautiful. It's got a lovely foreword by Marty Smith, poet. And, I just think it's such a brilliant initiative. So if anybody's burning with artistic talent and wants to submit, then get in touch with Evie.
I hope they make more. It sounds really cool.
Yeah. They will. I think they're going to do two a year.
Oh,
that's
awesome.
the intention. Yeah,
it's very cool.
And very reasonably priced at $15 as well, if people want to pick it up.
Yep.
Beautiful production, well done. 10 out of 10 would read again.
Awesome. Well, you can read the next one when it comes out in 6 months' time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for joining us today on the wonderful world of Wardini books.
Lovely to talk to you, Jill.
Awesome. And until next time.
Cheers.